Do you know where is the Haveli capital of the world? Do you know which is the region that holds the largest number of frescoes? No, it is not Morocco, it is not Italy, it is Shekhawati. Shekhawati is a region which is about 230 kilometers from Delhi. It is in Rajasthan. It has the most number of Havelis. Almost 2,000 Havelis are there in Shekhawati. Haveli is a mansion which is made around the courtyard. Shekhawati is also known as the open art gallery because of the paintings, the fresco paintings which are all over the walls of these Havelis. So these extraordinary heritage, this is all over India. There are in small villages, in small towns, we come across some extraordinary heritage in India. If we look at the mansions of Murshidabad, if you look at grand homes of Shekhawati and Kangra, there is so much of heritage which is to be discovered. Much of this legacy remains hidden, waiting to be rediscovered. So, but there's one challenge. This wealth is also crumbling. So what is the need of the hour? We have to save this heritage. We have to restore this heritage. That is the need of the hour. When we talk about restoration, we think about strengthening the structure, we think about the falling walls, we think about rebuilding these walls, we think of cleaning the frescoes which are all over in some of these places. My question today is, what happens after restoration? What happens once the scaffoldings come down? What happens when the lime plaster has dried up, when the restorers have come out of the project? What happens after that? When these buildings are even declared preserved, what happens to these buildings after that? How do you conserve these heritage buildings? I think if even you have repaired them, if the walls have to stay silent, if there has to be no human connection, then have we really restored these Havelis? So the restoration survives through people, through activities. What happened to these beautiful Havelis of Shekhawati? The rich merchants made these Havelis thinking that that would be their home, thinking that at least they'll retire there. But all these rich merchants moved to the port towns. They start because of their business reasons. And once they were there, they never came back to these Havelis. So these Havelis were locked, they were silent, they were decaying. So how do we bring back the glory of these Havelis? Of course, we restore them. But also after that, how do we give them the relevance? This is where the adaptive reuse comes in. We have to give it another reason. Adaptive reuse means that, like for example, these Havelis were used as residences of these merchants. But when you give them a different purpose, that is adaptive reuse. When you make these places into cultural centers, into museums, into heritage, into hotels, so that is what is the adaptive reuse you have given to these buildings. So the adaptive reuse is a practice of giving historic buildings a new purpose while respecting the original character and the significance of the building. So this is what is required. That's how we have to restore our heritage in the country. Some real examples, for example, 2 Havelis in Shekhawati, they were not lived in for more than 100 years. Once they were restored, now they welcome tourists from all over the world. They host puppet shows, they hold folk music sessions, pottery workshops. So what has happened? We have given back the life to these Havelis. Another example is not so far away, a grand Haveli, which was again abandoned for many, many years. And the building lobby had taken over, but we were lucky to save this Haveli, and today it runs as a museum. The museum, through its artifacts, through its walking sticks, through the turbans, through the safes of the merchants, it tells the story of the past. So now the museum is visited by the locals, it's visited by the students. This can be a place for the travelers where they interact with historians. So this is the adaptive reuse which is given to these buildings. Also, once I read an article in the newspaper which spoke about the crumbling Havelis of Old Delhi. That's how my Delhi adventure began. We went looking for the same Havelis and we restored them. The whole roof of that Haveli had fallen down. They would have disappeared in the history if we would have not restored these Havelis. So these Havelis got restored. Today they run as a cultural center where we are doing all kinds of cultural events. This is a place which has become a center for art and culture. So these spaces now hold musical mehfils, they hold talks with the historians, what we call the baithaks. The theatre also happens most of the times. There's piano recitals, all kinds of things happen in these havelis. So we have brought these havelis back to life. This is what adaptive reuse is all about. The building remains the same, but the purpose of the building is evolved. When we talk about heritage, it's very important to include the students in it. They could be the flag bearers of our heritage. Heritage needs to be relevant. I think the students, the youth has to relate with the heritage. For that, we have to make it relevant. We have to make it interactive for them. We have to make these places cool for them. It's okay for a museum to have a selfie point. That's where the youth can take photographs, make their reels and spread the word. They can, that's how these places would come alive. Also very important is to involve the community. I think right from the beginning of your heritage project, it's important to involve the community, the craftsmen, the masons, the artisans. All of these people can be engaged right in the beginning. After all, they are the custodians of traditional knowledge. In fact, not only the community, we have to engage with them, we have to engage with the families of these people who are there. We have to, for example, in holiday time, we have to have computer classes, we have to empower the community. They should feel that we are part of them, and that is how we will connect with them. So celebrating festivals with them, having workshop for their children, I think that is extremely important. So I invite you all to become part of this journey. I think all of us, we have to save the heritage. We have to pass it on to the next generation. For the travelers, I would say, make your destination into all these heritage places, make it part of your itinerary. There are so many undiscovered villages, there are so many undiscovered small towns which have a huge amount of heritage spread all over. So it is very important that you make heritage as part of your itinerary. For the entrepreneurs, for the startups, you can build your business model around heritage to have something which is successful, to have something which can, the other people get inspired about your ventures. So this is how we can also save heritage if you built it in your business plans. The local residents, the community, they can become your heritage ambassadors. They can spread the stories, they can talk to the guest who's there, to the travelers, they can talk about what is happening in the region. So it's very important. So what heritage asks you is two things: skillful hands to repair it, and caring people to keep it alive. Let us be both. I think we need to save our heritage. I think we need to celebrate our heritage. Thank you.